Okay, this is the lesson about the midpoint. It's what we did on Tuesday, September the 15th, okay? So it's all about midpoints. So we are looking at the midpoint of a segment, okay? Midpoint. The formula is not difficult to remember, but at first, if you don't know what's happening, it can be hard. So it's x subscript 1, because it's a point, I open my parentheses, plus x subscript 2 divided by 2, comma, y subscript 1 plus y subscript 2 divided by 2. Okay? So that's your formula. Now, what x subscript 1, subscript 2, y subscript 1, y subscript 2, what does it mean? So let's look at simple a number line. Okay? So your x is at, let's say, at 2. So that's the first address. So we call it x, sorry, x subscript 1 because it's your first address. Now, for whatever reason, your x is going to move, and it's going to move here to negative 3. So this new address will be x subscript 2. So x, we are going to read x subscript 1. Sub means under, script means written. So it just means written under. The 1 has no mathematical value. It's just for the location, the first location, okay? So now let's look at another way to do the work. So there is something under that's bugging me, but it's okay. So remember this point here at the intersection of the x-axis and the y-axis has a name. We call it origin. So be careful. Sometimes you think this is a 0. No, it's a O for origin. And the address of this point is x and y. And where is the x? At 0. Where is the y? At 0. Okay? So now, let's look at, you are here. So that's your first house. Let's call your address A, subscript 1. Now we need to figure out where you are at. So what we do, we read on the x-axis. So you see I bring down a line and I count. A line segment, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So your first address, so remember we have x subscript 1, y subscript 1. So your first address is, remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Now I have to figure out where is your address on the y. So I'm going to draw a line parallel to the x-axis, or I can say perpendicular to the y-axis, something that we are going to see later, but I use the word so you can remember. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the address is 5, 4. Okay? So now, for whatever reason, you need to move. Okay? So you are going to move, let's say, and you are going to move from 1 here. Okay? So let's call it B, no, sorry, A, subscript 2. That's your second address. Okay? So now, where is the second address? We are going to write it. X subscript 2, Y subscript 2. So let's look at it. Where are you on the X? You are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But remember, we are on the left of a 0, so it's negative 7. Okay? So now we are going to look at the y. So I go on the Y and I'm here, and it's 1, 2. I'm going up, it's positive, so it's 2. I am above the 0, okay? So now, let's look at, we are going to draw a line segment that's going to connect your old address to the new one. Okay, so let's say you need to meet with a friend and he says, oh, sorry, now you are living too far. Why don't we meet at the midpoint? Let's go grab a bite at the midpoint. So where is the midpoint? So what you can do, you can use your formula, because now you have your x subscript 1 and subscript 2, your y subscript 1 and your y subscript 2. Now, what I like to do first is to show you really what's happening physically. Okay? And after, it makes so much more sense, the formula. It makes more sense to use the formula. So you understand what it's all about. So what I do, I place the beginning of my strip of paper on the first endpoint, and I mark my second endpoint. I can use a scissor, but just with my nails, I cut it. So you see now I have exactly my line segment. So what I'm going to do, if I divide by 2, dividing by 2 to find the middle, so I divide by 2, exactly what the formula tells me. So as you can see, my paper is divided in 2, and here in the middle, it's my midpoint. We agree? Okay, so I'm going to mark it, or I can just fold it. And I'm going to put it on one endpoint, okay, and I'm going to mark my midpoint. So that's my midpoint. Okay, now where is my midpoint? I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to check. I'm going to go on the Y, on the X, sorry. So X, Y, my X is at 1, but remember, think about the number line. X here is 0, so I'm negative 1. And now I look at on the Y, 1, 2, 3. I'm at 3. Okay? So this is my midpoint without calculation. Now what happens if I calculate? Okay, so let's look at it. So I have x subscript 1 plus x subscript 2 divided by 2, because it's a point. I have to open my parentheses, comma, y subscript 1 plus y subscript 2 divided by 2. Okay? So I'm going to replace what's x subscript 1, it's 5. What's x subscript 2, it's minus 7. And I divide by 2. Comma. What's my y subscript 1, it's 4. What's my y subscript 2, it's 2. And I divide by 2. So 5 minus 7, which one has the biggest absolute value? It's 7. So I'm going to read from right to left. 7 minus 5, it's 2. So I have 2 divided by 2. What's 4 plus 2? It's 6 divided by 2. So what's 2 divided by 2? 2 divided by 2 is 1. But remember, there is one thing that I forgot here. It's the negative. So I'm negative 1. I do that all the time. So please, guys, don't be like me. 6 divided by 2, 3. So what do we notice, guys? We have exactly the same thing. Okay? It doesn't matter if you use the paper, we get the same thing. Okay? So another thing also, now, let's say we do not have graph paper, a coordinate plane, and I'm asking you, given A, so let's say 6 and 3, that's the address, and B, let's say 10 and negative, honestly it does not matter, negative 5, calculate the midpoint. Okay, so we know that we have to do x subscript 1 plus x subscript 2 divided by 2, comma, y subscript 1 plus y subscript 2 divided by 2. Okay, so what's my first x? It's 6. So I have 6 plus my second x, 10, and I divide by 2, comma. What's my first y? 3. My second y, minus 5, divided by 2. So 6 plus 10, 16, divided by 2. Which one has the biggest absolute value? The negative number. So my answer is going to be negative. So you read from right to left. So it's negative 2 divided by 2. Now I just do the math. 16 divided by 2, 8. Negative 2 divided by 2, negative 1. So this is my answer. Okay, so it's what I expect you to do. Okay, bye guys. If you have any question, leave me a message on Schoology. Bye bye.